Good afternoon. Welcome to all of our guests here at DPI and to those who are joining us on the live stream today. We're delighted to have you at today's launch event for the Cannabis Research Institute, From Seed to Social Impact. My name is Deneen Jackson Gillespie. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Strategic Marketing and Communications for the University of Illinois System. Before our panelists have taken their seats for the Riverside Chat, we're going to hear opening remarks from our distinguished guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present the University of Illinois System President, Tim Killeen.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. This is such an exciting and momentous occasion as we launch here DPI, part of the University of Illinois System, the Cannabis Research Institute, CRI, practice it, it's working, and celebrate the partnerships that drive its really important and timely mission. The University of Illinois System exists to improve the lives of our state's residents, and with CRI, our research enterprise is perfectly suited to collaborate with the state of Illinois and the community. And the goal of this event is to establish and begin establishing CRI as a trusted source of unbiased, factually accurate information, research into crop management, health, medicinal effects, and social equity impact. And community engagement is going to be one of the principal drivers behind everything we do to inform everything. So we're going to be working to document the public's needs, exploring the healthcare properties of cannabis, and finding ways to make its production as a crop more efficient. The Institute was made possible by the generous support of our Governor Pritzker, and the State Department of Health Services. And I'm so grateful to see the Governor here, as well as our guests from DHS. So I'd just recognize just a few other people. We have Secretary Dulce Quintero with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have Representative Eva-Dina Delgado, right there in the middle. Thank you for joining us for the celebration. So as we move closer to the panel discussion and our featured discussion, it's my honor to introduce our esteemed leader in the state, Governor JB Pritzker.
Thank you very much to President Killeen. Thank you for your service. And of course, what a great day it is, the launch of, or the announcement and launch of CRI, and I'm just very pleased to be here. What we're announcing, of course, and talking about is the advancement of scientific inquiry and research and lifting up Illinois as a national leader in a relatively new cannabis industry. In honor of it, I have worn DPI green. And I guess this is also cannabis green too. So, but I want to start just by acknowledging some of the many people who are here who are shaping the future that we're all aiming at. Dr. Reggie Gaudino, thank you very much. He's the director of the Cannabis Research Institute. Our Office of Cannabis Regulation Oversight is led, of course, by Aaron Johnson, who's here, and you're going to hear in a little bit from Nate Inglis, Steinfeld, and they really do terrific work. And remember, they're pioneers. There are only a few other states really that have an office like this, and they're doing a terrific job, and I want to thank them. And of course, our DHS Secretary Dulce Quintero, thank you for all the work that you do. All of you have guided our pursuit of a better industry, of being a state that is living up to its obligations on equity and so on, with open minds and with even hands. And I'm really quite grateful to have your passion and judgment and creativity that's helping us to make this the best state in the country on cannabis research, as well as having the best industry in the country. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge once again Representative Eva-Dina Delgado, because none of what we have done to build this industry can happen without a partnership with the General Assembly and people who care about making sure this industry is not only equitable but safe, that we're running an industry that is second to none. and it's the General Assembly. And, we've had to make tweaks and changes along the way. And when you've got a thoughtful and creative General Assembly to work with on that, who, in committee and on their own and working with experts, always seem to get it right. I'm extraordinarily grateful. And so thank you very much to Representative Delgado. Since my earliest days in office, the General Assembly and I have been working to make Illinois the national standard for legalization and regulation. We passed a first-in-the-nation equity-centric cannabis law, which has now made Illinois by far the national leader in diverse ownership within this industry. We always have work to do, I want to remind everybody, but we should take some pride, that we've gotten where we are. Even with the challenges that we know we still have ahead of us. Our work has focused on repairing the damage done by the failed war on drugs and creating jobs and building up a safe, equitable, and prosperous business sector. Thanks to many people in this room, that vision is coming to life. We cleared over 800,000 cannabis arrest records. And we pardoned over 20,000, well, I did, pardoned over 20,000 nonviolent low-level offenders. And I guess this is an opportunity for me to say, and I know there are people watching online, so I'll be careful in how I say this, but I will just take a moment to say there were some people on the other side of the aisle who voted in favor of cannabis legalization. Not a lot, but a few. And I sat at a table with them to try to negotiate to make sure that they were happy with the legislation. And one of the things they said to me, because we all agreed that there needed to be pardons and expungements of records. And I said, great, let's write that in the legislation. Said, oh, we don't want to vote for that, but we just want you to do it. And so I'm glad we were able to do it. I mean, they were in favor of it, but didn't want to have to take any flack for it. So that's okay. That's the job of the governor. But our Restore and Reinvest and Renew grants take revenue from the cannabis industry and we put it back into our communities in the form of legal aid and economic development, youth outreach, and violence prevention programs. We stood up the Cannabis Social Equity Program, providing resources and opportunities to cannabis entrepreneurs from underrepresented communities. Again, still more work to do, but it really is having a positive effect. So far, this intentional equity-forward approach has yielded real results. Roughly 60% of adult use dispensary licenses issued in our first 3 years were to minority or women-owned businesses, making Illinois by far the most diverse cannabis industry in the entire nation. Number two, giving them credit, we're at 60%, Maryland at 37%. I want to say from the beginning, I've said that this effort would require more than just disentangling the convoluted and ineffective laws that were on the books. It would require us to dispel the lingering biases and misconceptions that put those laws on the books in the first place. So we'd need to change the public perception around cannabis, fight back against misinformation, bring more scientific study into the industry, and have honest, productive conversations about the opportunities associated with legalization. And that is exactly what CRI is here to do. Use innovative research and data collection to deepen our understanding of cannabis and help shape the future of this industry, better inform the public, develop policies for consumer protection, economic and community development, and equity. What we've done in Illinois, I think, is pretty remarkable. At the time that I was elected, we were allowing people to be held in the state criminally liable and inequitably so for consuming cannabis. Just 5 years later, we have one of the most orderly and successful cannabis industries, and we're launching this research institute funded by the legal sale of that same plant that will accelerate the transformation of that old, unfair, unjust system into a vehicle for community revitalization. And we're still just at the beginning. I'm incredibly proud of the progress that we've made, but there really is so much more left to do. So today I'm more helpful than ever. I'm more hopeful. Helpful? I'm hopeful for sure. I'm more hopeful than ever that we will get there. We will get to the goals that we knew we wanted to set out for ourselves back at the beginning. And that's because of the people in this room. And so I want to thank you again for your participation. So thanks to everybody for being here, for committing to that work. With that, I get to hand the podium over to a great partner in that work and a staunch advocate for equity. And that's our Secretary of the Department of Human Services, Dulce Quintero.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that warm welcome, Governor Pritzker. Thank you to everyone who's here to help us celebrate the launch of the CRI, to all of our partners. Together, we're making history. I get very excited. And I'm getting used to watching us make history being made while working with Governor Pritzker. With his visionary leadership and focus on equity, we continue to put the well-being of Illinois first and foremost. Thank you, Governor. And I want to shout out our IDHS, Division of Substance Use and Prevention and Recovery, including Director Laura Garcia and Dr. Donell Barnett. Their work and their teams are at large part of why we're here today. At IDHS, we are so proud to join like-minded collaborators who are committed to advancing cannabis research. One philosophy drove our team as we thought about the historically marginalized communities that this administration is lifting up. The philosophy is, nothing about us without us. I am so proud of the inclusion and intentionality that is driving this initiative. As an example, as part of this process, we'll connect students of color to roles as research assistants. They will have a chance to grow and learn beside some of our brightest researchers. They will have a front row seat inside of the state-of-the-art facilities where their skills will shine. All of us are better for it. CRI positions us to be an example of excellence for the rest of the country. You should all be proud. And now I'm going to hand it back to Deneen Gillespie. Where are you at? There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Killeen, Governor Pritzker, Secretary Quintero. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are just really excited to have you, and I want everyone to join me in one last round of applause for our esteemed speakers. Yes. It's no secret that cannabis is an understudied crop. It compounds to having the possibility to both health or harm. To talk about the opportunities and risk, the work of CRI, and what's next, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the moderator of today's Riverside Chat, Dr. Mila Marshall.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Sorry. Am I here? Oh, thank you. I'm going to bring up our panelists. We're going to begin with Dr. Donell Barnett from DHS. Come on up. You all can clap. Neil Inglis Steinfeld, CRI, Cannabis Regulation Oversight Officer of Data and Research. We have Rep. Delgado join us. And then finally, the man of the hour, Dr. Reggie Gaudino from Cannabis Research Institute. I'm pinching myself right now because I finished my doctorate right here at UIC in the ecology department. And I wonder if my advisor thought, like, oh, she's going to be working in wheat someday. But it means something to be educated from pre-K to PhD in your own state, in your own city, blocks away from the red line that I would take with my UPass. So this is an honor. I want to start off with some comments. The Illinois cannabis industry is now worth $1 billion as of July of this year. $850 million in the adult recreational space, $150 million from the medical, and it's continuing to grow. Today, we are here as a community of researchers, scholars, and thought leaders in policy to learn from our panelists the opportunities within our labs, novel partnerships, and collaborations across disciplines, across the state of Illinois for exploring the cannabis industry from seed to social impact. And so that's a really big conversation that we're going to have. But we do want all of you to understand the workings of Cannabis Research Institute, the opportunities, and many of you may be somewhat unfamiliar with the cannabis industry. So hopefully we can help you walk out of here with a better understanding of your role in this space. And so I want to start off with you, Dr. Gaudino. Can you share a little bit for why are we here? Why now?
We are here now because the cannabis industry is exploding, and unfortunately, a lot of that explosion is going along without a lot of good information to be able to base decisions on, and without a lot of information about what the plant can do, not only with the medical and therapeutics, but in other aspects, right? So one of the things that we hope to accomplish at CRI is to kind of change the narrative, right? It's not just about THC and CBD anymore, but there are a lot of other aspects of cannabis and hemp that we hope to be able to bring to the forefront so that people can start to look at the plant differently, reduce the stigma, and realize the other economic opportunities that hemp and cannabis can be plugged into. In terms of the what was the second part of that question?
This moment, like, okay. Why are we? Yeah.
We are here at this moment because of the great work that has been done prior to me getting here. As you heard from Governor Pritzker and President Killeen, this has been going on for quite some time. There's been a real vision as to what the state of Illinois wanted to accomplish with their program. And having come from the state of California, I moved out here from San Diego. I can tell you that the vision that is here in Illinois was different than the vision that I've seen in any other state, right? So one of the beautiful things about, one of the reasons why I decided to come out here was the program or the opportunity that this represented was completely different than I've seen anywhere else. In most other states, you have a program where there is not a collaborative effort. There isn't the ability to tap into all aspects of expertise in a system. And so the way that between the vision and the way that the University of Illinois set this up presented a very unique opportunity, which I saw as perhaps the best way to get some of these things accomplished.
So Dr. Barnett, I want to bring this to you. We don't want to lose the fact that this is still centered on people, right? So can you share from your perspective of DHS what this partnership means in this moment in time, considering you also come from a research background and use it to help prescribe, policies and recommendations for the industry?
Thank you for that. And this is wonderful to be here. Part of the Illinois Department of Human Services is to provide, a part of our mission is to provide a safety net of services, particularly in the behavioral health space, so mental health and addictions. And this provides an opportunity to inform those policies, to inform the programs, to inform the kinds of services that's needed. And as Dr. Gaudino pointed out, also to tell the story that cannabis is more than just recreational use and so forth. And so this provides, from a human standpoint, that is intrinsic in the values of DHS, that we are community centered, that we're equity focused, and that we provide a safety net of services for folks who otherwise might not have access to. We get an opportunity to infuse some of those values into this particular program. I'll also mention is that the CRTA, Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, lays out some specific mission requirements for DHS, one of which is to collect data, do research analysis, and inform policy from a public health standpoint. And so we're very excited about the ability, adding this capability to our portfolio of work and services, again, in the interest of the public good.
So speaking of the public good, DHS is not the only agency that works, for this. Nate, can you talk a little bit about the other state agencies and, help people understand how these all work together?
Sure. Thank you, Mila. And thank you to DPI for having us. This is a fantastic event. Thank you to the staff who moved the chairs out here in
Yeah, that was
2
kind of cool.
seconds. That was impressive. And I think you see here, my role here is very minimal. This is a collaborative effort where you have such great partners with DPI, with all the folks here at DHS who provide the funding. And then we're so lucky now to have Director Gaudino, Reggie, for bringing actual research knowledge, who actually understands how this works. So my role is at the CRU office. We're the coordinating office. So it's really about collaborating and connecting all of these different partners and people who care deeply about bringing non-biased, independent, robust, world-class research to cannabis. And this is a really unique and fantastic opportunity. I feel like we're really connecting all the dots. We need the research now. We need to inform our friends at the legislature, inform the governor, provide actionable, real information to consumers about what cannabis does and does not do, and what are the dangers, what are not the dangers. There's so many things that we need to do. So I'm just so happy that we're here having this conversation, bringing all these people together to collaborate.
So, Rep. Delgado, from your perspective, you're charged with, advancing legislation for the state. How important is it to have non-biased information? When this first started, it was really industry heavy. Illinois was pulling information from other states that might not necessarily fit with, our community. So how important is it for, the movement of policy to be connected to unbiased data collection?
So, incredibly important is the answer. When we think about creating new industries, right? So this very much was a brand new industry that Illinois had to create a regulatory structure around and to provide guidance as to what direction we wanted it to go in. When you do that from scratch, you really are in a brave new world. You're piecing things together. You're trying to grab information from different places, and you hope that it's good information, right? Today, we are so lucky to have an organization that is going to spend time really diving deep into data and analyzing it and providing real recommendations based on unbiased information. Because our goal is to put the best public policy out there that we can, and to try to accomplish what the goals are, knowing that there are always unintended consequences to things that we do. One of the things that I learned, I've only been a legislator for about 5 years, so I'm still early in this process, but one of the things that I've learned is that they expect us to be experts in everything. My background is not cannabis. My background is energy infrastructure and transportation. It's not what I have spent most of my career doing, but because I am so invested in seeing this industry support our communities, I represent the northwest side of the city of Chicago. We have a lot of justice-involved folks in our communities that have been impacted by the war on drugs. So we want to make sure that we're seeing this industry give back to the communities that it's impacted. And so I said, I'm going to dive headfirst into it. Do I know anything about cannabis? No, but I'm going to learn as much as I can. And so I know that my colleagues, I saw Representative LaShawn Ford here earlier. He is also leading the charge on cannabis. And I know that all of us are very interested in seeing what comes out of this so that it can help educate us and also give us the information that we need to create good and sound policy.
And thank you for making that point. It reminds me when this legislation went live, there was hiring for faculty members at city colleges, for example, to teach cannabis in the law or cannabis in business or intro to cannabis. So yours truly got hired. So that was fun. However, there was no book. There was no syllabus. There was no curriculum. There were no assignments. There wasn't even a discussion on the ethics of if you are a consultant and you're teaching a class, what does it look like to use assignments to poach ideas from these emerging entrepreneurs? Like when I say new, this was so new. We didn't even know what questions to ask, right? And so beyond that, it was really hard to get people in the door to even have the conversation, right? Because there are some stigmas that impact our ability to show up with our professional lens. We might have personal opinions about the legislation, or we might have a different relationship with cannabis for whatever reason, right? That's personal, but this industry needs us, right? And so Reggie, can you talk, are we okay with first name basis? All right, we've practiced this, you all. We're with family. Can you talk a little bit about the stigmas of cannabis and maybe uniquely how that can impede research and curiosity if we don't dissolve those?
You know, the stigma goes back a long time. And, you know, without getting into too much politics, there's been a undercurrent of, you know, negative thought and negative association that's gone along with cannabis use and the people that were largely using that product. So that's kind of carried over. When we look today at funding, when we look today at research being done, until recently, there wasn't a lot of research being done. There was very little funding for that research as well, right? Ironically, you know, even in places like Colorado and California, where it's been legal, you know, before it was legal here in Illinois, the state schools there still have a large amount of fear about what it means to do research at a university, right? And so some of that is founded in the fact that if, you know, a lot of universities get most of their research money from the federal government, the plant is still federally legal. And so what ends up happening is you have a bunch of people who rely on that money who are afraid to let the research happen on their campuses because of the potential of losing that federal funding, right? And so what we hope to be able to achieve, right, is a change of thought and a change of how that plant is viewed by looking at the plant in a way that is different than it was looked at before, right? So to change that kind of stigma, right? If we start to understand that the plant is not just about adult or recreational use, that the plant does have medicinal properties, that the plant does have inroads into manufacturing, into cosmetics, into all these other things, because there are other compound groups that are prevalent in fairly high levels that can be extracted and used as a disruptive input, right? The association of the plant with other things like textiles. Recently, you know, Patagonia and Levi said that by 2030 they want to have 50% of the textiles that they use in their products come from hemp. How many people were aware that since 1994, Mercedes-Benz has been using hemp in their cars, right? So a lot of information is out there, but people don't know it because of that stigma. Even when there are companies that are well known around the world using it, they don't advertise it, right? And then the final aspect is looking at new inroads into new economic, you know, kind of streams, right? So there's the potential to use hemp for biofuels, bioplastics, superconductor materials, right? So some of the best graphene that can be made comes from hemp, right? So there are so many opportunities that we don't look at because of that stigma. And I think it's pigeonholed cannabis and hemp into, you know, that same old thought pattern. And I hope that's what we break at CRI.
So thank you for that. Donell, I want you to share. I think it's important to not separate this from, yes, this is science, but this is science for the people, by the people. So from DHS's perspective, can you share a little bit about how removing that stigma allows for us to make better policy, support Black and Brown communities that have been disproportionately harmed by the war on drugs? Which, before you comment, I do have to say this. It can be quite uncomfortable as a researcher towing the line of advocacy, right? Like, we try and stay on that space of being neutral and non-biased. And when we believe that there is sometimes our research is directed towards a policy, can make us feel quite uncomfortable. And that is a shift in how it is we think about ourselves as researchers. And so with that, I'll just put that as a context, if you can.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'll start with sort of approaching this from a substance use standpoint. We know that there are folks that may use cannabis for harm reduction reasons. That it, may think about it as a safer alternative to some other substances. We know that folks may use it for healthcare kinds of reasons, anxiety management and a few other things. We also know on the other side of some of the risks associated with it. A lot of that happens in community, right? Communities using this particular plant in different ways that may not be concordant with broader policy and so forth. So that's a part of, in an unbiased way, that's a part of sort of bringing folks into a community informed, community driven discussion that helps us to understand a variety of perspectives, a variety of ways of thinking about it, to the point that was made earlier about our relationship with cannabis. So for those reasons, part of what we've tried to accomplish with this program is to infuse the principles of nothing about us without us. That community members would have an opportunity to be a part of both research design and interpreting the implications of the research. That folks would have an opportunity, young scholars would have an opportunity to sit at the table and learn from these great scholars and researchers, and also bring their fullness, bring their presence into that process, which then leads to better outcomes down the road. We know that that's a challenge with research more broadly, that equity sometimes is ad hoc or after the fact. And so we're intentional about bringing that in on the front end, because we believe, and there's lots of research to support, that it leads to better outcomes down the road. So those are some of the things that we think about from an equity standpoint, that I'm really excited about in launching this program.
I think for me, I'm really excited to see the university system, the social impact, like relevant research. That was one of my first papers that that got successfully published, where us as graduate students, we want to solve problems. We're in the middle of the city. There's no reason why people shouldn't come to us with their questions. There's no reason why elected officials shouldn't come to us and say, this is the scale that we need to answer these questions on. And so, Nate, I know you want to kind of jump in here. Anything to add for talking about stigmas and kind of from your role?
No, Donell said it perfectly. I think infusing cannabis research with equity from the start, like, that's what the CRTA, the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, like, that's the core of it. That's why we legalized it through legislation and not through ballot initiative, first state in the country to do that. It was because of equity, the social justice impact. And it's been so exciting to see how this pulls together, the partnerships. That is the core of DHS's team. Like, they just bring that energy and care for equity. DPI has brought the energy of, well, we can see that this is a big market, $2 billion in retail sales, 10,000 employees working directly for cannabis licensed businesses in the state. They can see that this is a big thing. The third largest crop in the state of Illinois by dollar value. Like, this is a big deal. and we need to bring the resources of the state to help the people in the state. And they've taken that and they've grabbed Reggie from California and his vision of where that's going to go and how that's going to help start creating that world-class research. Like that is equity happening, and that is the social equity goals of the CRTA. So I don't know, I'm getting goosebumps just because we're getting there, and it's a hard road, but we need to keep going so that we can get the results. And thank you, Natalie, for coming from the lab. And we're doing the work already. We need to just keep the balls moving.
It's a long road, and it is an expensive road. I know we have talked a little bit about conflicts of interest and having unbiased research. Reggie, can you touch upon how CRI is funded and how it's the work will be completely separate from the private sector?
Yeah, that's a good question, because in order to be able to maintain an unbiased approach, so that we are not subject to the influence of any companies that might want to sway our vision and or our approach. CRI was started with a $7 million under a $7 million grant from the state. That contract actually has some deliverables. We've been talking about the community guided research, community academic partnerships, but in order, the $7 million, while it's a good starting spot, it's not going to get us the entire way there. The rest of our money is going to be coming from federal grants. So we've already applied for one. CRI was part of a collaborative effort for one NIH grant that's already been submitted. We're in the process of writing another grant to the National Cancer Institute for another set of work that we're planning. We are looking to be able to also tap into philanthropic organizations and private donors that are not associated with any cannabis companies. So we have a real, kind of lens on where that money is coming from, so that we can vet that money and make sure that money is not coming from the industry itself, so that we can be seen as a completely unbiased source, right? So, and I mean, I think that if we can find other neutral kind of donors.
Don't look at me like I got a checkbook to
Come
sign.
on,
He's like,
but the efforts are being put into finding sources of money that will allow us to remain a completely neutral and unbiased source. So for information.
So Rep. Delgado, I know you get tons of people coming to talk to you. Industry, people from out of state, other elected officials, nonprofits that are for as well as against. What do you think it means for the public to have access to high quality, free information? And how does that level the playing field and promote equity in terms of how they can advocate and or lobby with the same quality information that, some of these larger corporations can pay a consultant to lobby on their behalf?
It's a huge game changer to have this kind of information be available to the public. I think it was Reggie who talked a bit about stigma before, right? One of the things that I know that myself and some of my other colleagues have been hearing a lot about is how we can continue to engage with people so that they can understand what the benefits are to having cannabis be a part of our economy, and also what those benefits are to individuals in our communities, right? And that very much is going to come from research, because I believe that people will believe it if they see it's coming from an entity like CRI that's got the backing of the University of Illinois, right? This is something that people are going to trust and believe. We've talked about trying to create opportunities for folks to be able to utilize cannabis to treat anxiety or to treat other kinds of things that are happening. And if you are, for example, a police officer or a firefighter or somebody else in a safety sensitive position, you cannot use cannabis, because today there is no way for there to be, the testing doesn't exist right now to be able to determine whether somebody is actually in an intoxicated state with cannabis. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not a scientist, but I know this is something that has been coming up over and over again. And so the only way that we can start to impact that stigma, the only way that people can learn and understand what this does to educate themselves so that they can come and speak to those that represent them, to make sure that we are representing them in the best way that we can, is coming through something like this.
I think one of my favorite parts about CRI is the intentionality with partnering with other internal institutes, building relationships with community partners, because sometimes our science is all the way up here. Right. And so there has to be someone to translate. So the information can be there and it can be free. But if I am not science literate, then it's taking me more time, more energy, more money to even wrap my mind around it, while this company, they hired a consulting firm and they were able to figure it out in, in less than an hour, put together a one pager and then come to your office. And so I realized when I was hired by social equity folks to read that. Anybody else read the legislation, 800 pages, raise your hands? No? Yeah, kind of, sort of. It was dense, right? It was dense, and this legislation was put together for social equity, but many people came to civic engagement because of cannabis. They had never read policy in their lives. Now you got to be science literate, you got to be civically literate at multiple levels of government, municipal, county, state, federal, and then don't even get the farm bill involved. They're like, farm bill? What is industrial hemp, right? It's quite complex. And so to have an agency like CRI that is here for the people, by the people, I think is just, it is a game changer in a very nuanced way. But can you speak to the types of partnerships that CRI is going to be leveraging to accomplish some of your goals, and maybe start to get into the vision of CRI moving into 2025?
So in terms of partnerships, we have already started working with the Department of Ag. And so CRI will be working in a capacity with them so that we can help support what they're doing as well. One of the things that we've started, in fact, Nate mentioned that Natalie came from the lab. Natalie's our lab director. One of the things that is happening across the United States is a scourge of the industry called HLVD. It's a RNA virus that has caused dramatic decreases in productivity of the plant and also the revenue streams. Right. So in California, they estimate that between 50 and 75% of the plants have this viroid. So we have already instituted a survey to be able to look at the prevalence of HLVD in the state of Illinois, because the state of Illinois is actually in a more, or not, I don't want to say more in its infancy, but a younger program than some of the other more established programs, right? So the question then becomes is, how bad is it here? Is there something to worry about? And what can we do to help prevent it becoming as bad so that the people of the state are not as impacted as they are in some other places? We're working within the, one of the goals of CRI is also to be able to...
Reggie, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's big dollars for the industry.
Yes, it is.
Just translation from science-y, even though you boiled it down.
I should have given a number. Yeah,
big dollars.
Yeah. So the economic impact, or the estimated economic impact to places like Colorado and California, are between 30 and 50% revenue decrease because of that disease in the plants, right? So that has the right. So that has the ability to wreck the smaller and more underrepresented, minoritized people that are looking to be able to use this as a way to step up, right? So if you're a big MSO, you probably have a big, cash cow somewhere that you can use to help mitigate that problem. If you're just starting, that's going to potentially put you out of business. And so we're looking to be able to prevent some of that, to be able to help the industry, stabilize itself and get off the ground. So, but getting back to the other partnerships, so for the community engagement and in the social equity aspects of the research that we're doing, we're partnering with other departments within U of I, the School of Public Health. We are looking to start up agronomy programs with UIUC, so to be able to tap into the expertise that U of I has in a number of places, right? So UIUC is one of the top 10 ag schools in the United States. What better place than to bring them into the research fold to be able to help a crop that has largely not been improved since the 1930s. If you look at USO 31, which is the industrial hemp that is grown in most places in the United States, there has been no development of that crop since hemp became illegal in the 1930s. And so, so that's within the state. So we're also looking to be able to partner with, non-traditional research, schools or non-traditional school, or I guess it would be research schools, community colleges. There are a number of community colleges around U of I that, around the state of Illinois that have cannabis programs. And so one of the things that we're hoping to be able to do is to help them level up their programs as well by bringing them either equipment or expertise or helping them add on, laboratory sciences and things to their cultivation programs. So this way we can help kind of build credentialing programs, build internship programs, and STEM programs as well. So I think I covered everything. I'm not.
I think when Reggie starts to talk about science, he wiggles, right? So you'll notice like his foot starts going like, and this is. One of the reasons why I love my science is because I get to be myself. Yep. And you can tell we have a director that loves what he does. He loves being himself. And I think it's really important, especially for me as an early career, PhD, to see someone that looks like me, that was taken from his state to come to Illinois. You are a mentor to me. And you remind me that I can be myself and still be Dr. Marshall, and none of that goes away if I am just loving what I do. So thank you for bringing your whole self. Clap it up. Me and this guy right here, we got a little rivalry going on. So I am also, I was a student at Florida A&M University, and he attended Langston. And we did talk about the opportunities for UIC, UIS, and UIUC to make a touch point with HBCU. So can you, from your perspective, kind of take us a little bit higher and show us like what the future of academia and connecting with HBCUs could possibly look like because of this program and institute?
It's not really a rivalry. Langston is better. Many of the HBCUs have are land grant institutions and have a implicit in their mission is agronomics. Thank you, agronomics. And so folks that are studying and training to work in that industry and develop. This presents an opportunity from an extension standpoint to help in that education pipeline. They will be looking for opportunities to advance their careers beyond the undergraduate, beyond the master's degree, and train in places there's only a few places around the country that have this kind of expertise. And so those are some alliances and some partnerships that I think would be really useful, particularly as we think about folks that come from communities that understand the war on drugs, understand have felt the brunt of the politics and the stigma, but also have, and I love how you framed it, to be doctor and yourself, right? To bring all of that into an opportunity for training and mentorship, I think is a wonderful and a beautiful connection.
Yeah, and maybe even Crew will have some opportunities for fellowships, internships. Is that on the horizon, Nate?
Yes, please. I think the other thing that I was just thinking is just how interdisciplinary this is and how this connects across so many different areas, and being able to have CRI as a resource where equity is a thing that Reggie and the team that he's building is just going to have at their core, to bring the history, to bring the acknowledgement of what the purposes of the CRTA and the purposes of legalization were in Illinois. As you start looking at the data and realizing that, okay, there's people growing those crops, there's people moving those crops across the state and selling them in Illinois dispensaries. all of that history and knowledge takes a lot of effort to understand the uniqueness of cannabis data. And CRI will be the place that researchers from Western, Northern, SIU can call up and ask questions and be like, hey, I'm seeing this in the data that I'm looking at. Even if they're not part of CRI, Reggie is a team player, I hope. No, he is. And he'll answer their questions, which is, we're bringing this resource to all of our public universities for the whole state.
I should say, so the National Cancer Institute grant that I mentioned before, that actually is being done with the school outside of the UI system. So I should give a shout out to Dr. Barry Bodie, who is a cancer researcher at NIU, who is actually my partner on that NCI grant. And so, CRI is actually working towards building relationships with everybody within the state of Illinois, and to be able to bring kind of, that camaraderie, that collaboration, and to every possible corner of the state of Illinois. So
I Rep Delgado, I want to tag you in. Research can take a long time, right? And in our world, 3 years, 4 years, that's kind of the norm. And then your paper might take, 2 years to publish. We don't have that type of time, do we, with cannabis?
No, and just so you all know, I think in periods of 2 years, because every 2 years I have to run for reelection. So that's about as far as I can think before I have to start thinking about, will I be here again to continue doing this work, right? This industry is moving so fast. And as legislators, I also think of us as regulators, because we are trying to create structures so that we can make sure that we're not hurting anybody, and make sure that we're helping the people that we want to help, right? And right now, the conversation that's happening is around intoxicating hemp. There's probably a more technical term for that. You can tell me later.
no, it's actually
No.
that's the
Is
term.
that right? Okay.
Yep.
Good. Oh, look at that.
Nailed it.
I'm learning. I'm learning. This is a conversation that's happening right now, and we don't have that information at our fingertips to be able to say, well, this is the right way to regulate it. These are the right definitions to put in here. These are the right ways that we want to make sure that we're restricting or allowing access to it. And that industry is booming. We are way behind in terms of trying to rein it back in, right? So it is a challenge that I know that we're going to have to deal with in terms of, being patient as the process happens. But the fact that it's happening at all is beneficial. And so, patience is not our greatest virtue in the legislature, but also we can also move slowly. Sometimes we do behave as a deliberative body because we don't want to make a mistake that we can't fix, right? So yes, it's going to be hard to wait, but knowing that it's happening, knowing that those things are on the horizon, I think gives us a lot of hope for the future.
But and thank you, but we're not starting off from scratch. The state has a ton of data already, and information that's been collected on the industry about use. I read the report, cannabis use disorder. Like, there's new vocabulary that's coming out. Nate, how would you support those who are, kind of towing the line and learning about cannabis? What would you recommend for them to find on your website to learn about the industry, maybe even to stoke their curiosity for the types of questions that they might be passionate about answering?
First, I just want to say, absolutely representative. Like, we need the research yesterday, and we need it now, and we need the panel of researchers who are working on these subjects that we can call up and say, here's what I'm wondering about, give me answers. And knowing that they're not funded by the industry, not funded by lobbyists, they're just nerds.
Hey.
Hey, thanks,
Hey.
man.
That's my favorite. So where can you look for current information? Cannabis.illinois.gov is our CRI website, which coordinates all the different state agencies. So you can see information that we post there. We post sales data on the last month's sales, all the way back since the inception of the program. We also have demographics. The CRI, by statute, does a diversity survey. We partner with the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign to do the survey of every licensee who has a license has to report information to us. We gather information directly from employees to get their demographics self-identified. All the results are posted on our website. I also want to give a shout out to UIC, another program funded by DHS through their cannabis tax dollars. I think it's the IllinoisCannabisProject.com, I think is their website.
This is the law center.
It's UIC's, I think the social work school.
Oh, okay. There's a couple of different cannabis entities already, right?
Yeah, this is also a part of our mission. So we do we have a partnership with UIC to do some program evaluation work for our other cannabis funded projects, as well as to support the Adult Use Cannabis Committee. So that's a team of scholars, policymakers, other advocates around the state who come together to talk about adult use and some of the implications. In fact, Secretary Quintero co-chairs that particular committee along with the IDPH, Illinois Department of Public Health Director.
Wonderful. I want to get to the type of research that CRI is going to be prioritizing.
So CRI had, the title of this discussion is From Seed to Social Impact. So, and that is actually the arc that CRI will be taking. So, there, as I mentioned, some cannabis crops have not been improved since the 1930s. So there's a whole aspect of agronomy, of crop improvement, that entails field trials, that entails genomic study, marker creation, so that you can do markers assisted selection, which is the key cornerstone to a lot of the crops that we know and love today, right? So those were, arrived at by various levels of marker assisted selection, so that you can select traits that are important to that crop's improvement. There's the medical therapeutics, where we're going to be looking at drug discovery. We're going to be looking at, the potential for cannabis or cannabinoids and pain management. That was one of the grants that we submitted recently.
I heard the representative say anxiety too, so add that to your list.
Anxiety, right? Anxiety. Part of that study will actually be to see how we can help put additional, medical conditions on the qualified medical cannabis list. Then we have the social equity, social impact aspects as well. What happens if you don't have a dispensary in your area, or if it takes too long, or you feel unsafe about getting your product? What happens when you have it too close to a school, or those kind of things? So we really do think that there's a paucity of information in all aspects of cannabis as it impacts people, right? From how to grow it more efficiently, best practices, sustainability. How can we use that product to reclaim brownfields, right? So how can we use that product to make inroads into new economic revenue streams? So how can we educate and share that information with the populace? Because as you pointed out before, the information being there isn't enough. It has to be digested to the point where people can take a look at it and kind of understand it, and then incorporate that into their daily lives, right? So those are all the types of work that CRI will be getting involved in. So.
And some of that depends on the partners and the people in this room for your interest and working with CRI. When you said brownfields, that's my jam. Yeah. As a systems ecologist, I'm thinking about I look at cannabis as an agricultural commodity. And when I learned that industrial hemp, some strains have the potential to remediate soil. And I'm like, so what does that look like? To look at the vacancies in industrial corridors, what type of project can you develop? Then what do you do with it? How do you process it? You can actually make hempcrete, hemp fibers, like all of the years that we've pushed STEM and STEAM for 30 years, the 20 years of urban agriculture, and now here it is, industrial urban agriculture right at our doorstep. And what are we going to do with it? It's like we have all the pieces, and now we have, a leader. And so as we land the plane, I'm just going to go down the line. Any final remarks that you would like to share with our audience and our people that joined us on live today?
No, just thank you. Thank you. This has been a wonderful gathering, informative, educational, and I, for one, look forward to the additional opportunities like this that will come ahead to help us all learn more and to do better.
Nate?
So cannabis was legalized 2019. First adult use sales were 2020, medical market back in 2014, 2015. We need more research. Like, we need a non-biased information condensed and provided to us. And I'm so excited that we're using our tax dollars back for research, supporting our public universities, all of these social equity, social justice aspects of this research project. I'm just so excited for what the future can hold here. So thank you all for being here. Reggie, Donell, thank you for making this happen. DHS, thank you.
Rep. Delgado?
Yeah, I'm excited to be in this company, to be frank. I mean, just looking around at the folks who are here in this room, you all are going to help us move Illinois forward, and that is what we are all about. And we want to see this particular industry continue to grow and grow in a way that is equitable and supports our communities, which, I mean, that's all we can ask for. I think that those that are watching this live stream, those of us who are in this room, if we can continue sharing this information, talk about this, tell people, tell your neighbors that this is an agency, an organization that exists, that is going to be moving forward. So then maybe we can get y'all some more money, which is always good.
Yes, it is.
But also, we're putting it out there in the world so that people can start to normalize the conversation around these things, which is really what we want to see in the future. So again, I want to thank all of you for putting this on. This is amazing. I'm so glad to have been a part of it.
I have a lot to be thankful for here. So let me start with Mila. Thank you for coming and being the moderator.
You stopped wiggling when you said me. What's going on?
Okay. All right. So I also want to, so I'm a bench scientist. So I'm a molecular geneticist and biochemist by trade. So there's a lot about the social equity, social impact, and social justice part that I don't understand. And because I was never trained in it. So I want to say thank you to Christina Sansoni, because she's helped put a lot of the program together. And she's been, instrumental in helping me learn what I did not know. I want to say thank you to Governor Pritzker and also President Killeen for allowing me this opportunity to come out here and be the director of the Cannabis Research Institute. I also want to say thank you to Agnes Bella and Venkat and to Carl Putz as well, who have who worked long and hard with DHS and crew to be able to put this together and allow me this opportunity to come and lead it. So thank you to everybody. So.
All right. Panelists, I so appreciate you spending the time for us to get to know each other, for us to work through some of these questions, to have a really great conversation. I know it is not easy because I've seen this be built from the ground up. And I just want to remind folks that science itself has been weaponized in the past against Black and brown people, whether it is the biased approach to asking questions, the biased interpretation and use of it to make unethical policy, or the absence of including us at all. And so here we have the opportunity to get it right for our community as researchers. We are moving beyond our broader impact statements and having a true social impact. With that, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Enjoy your weekend.